If, like me, you've experienced the frustration that comes with not getting as much done as you'd like on a day-to-day basis, then stick around, as in this video, I'm going to share 4 steps you can take to help you achieve more in life. Hi, I'm Nick and I'm a husband, dad, pops, registered counsellor and certified coach, and I've got tons of experience of helping busy professionals to improve mindset, emotional well-being and performance. And on this channel I share tips, ideas and practical tools designed to help you succeed and win in life. So if you're committed to your ongoing personal development, you're in the right place. So take a second to subscribe and click on the bell icon so you can be notified of all future videos. And also, if as part of your ongoing personal growth you'd really like more clarity about how you'd want your life to look in the next few years or so, then download my free 5-step guide to creating your ideal future. There'll be a link to it in the description below. Right, let me start by asking you a question. Do you have a fail-proof approach to getting things done and performing consistently at a high level? Well, if you don't, let me introduce you to 4 principles which could change that for you. The 4DX method, developed by Stephen Covey and Chris McChesney, authors of the 4 Disciplines of Execution, is an approach you can use to ramp up your productivity and performance in your personal and professional life. And the 4 disciplines are simply these. 1, have a wildly important goal. In other words, identify a key objective and give the majority of your attention to it at the exclusion of everything else. 2, be guided by lead measures. In other words, focusing on all the activities that are within your control, those which will make success inevitable. 3, have a compelling scoreboard. In other words, finding a way of tracking and keeping a record of the progress you're making. 4, make yourself accountable. In other words, putting in place a regular method of having your progress seen and reviewed by others. Okay, so that's a quick description of each of the 4 disciplines, but for a slightly more detailed overview, and more importantly, for helping knowing what they might look like for you, keep watching. Right, you'll probably agree that there's a huge difference between being busy and being productive. You can also probably think of occasions when you've got to the end of the day exhausted only to feel you've not accomplished anything meaningful. And it's frustrating, right? I've personally been there loads myself and will admit to being beyond frustrated, especially when I can see where things I ought to have done are still on my list and my deadline is coming closer, which also adds to my stress. But I also know how it feels when I get to the end of the day, and though exhausted, I have a great sense of achievement and feel proud of myself. And these are typically the days when I've managed to give myself to the important stuff, which happens to be the first of the 4 disciplines we're going to look at in this video. So Covey and Chesney suggest that if you want to increase the chances of making meaningful progress and making significant changes in your life, you need to first identify which objectives have the potential to move you closer to what you want to achieve. They describe the importance of focusing your best efforts on 1 or 2 goals that will make all the difference, instead of giving mediocre effort to dozens of goals. And one of the reasons for this is that neuroscience is showing time and again the negative effects of multitasking. For example, one study by the University of London found that multitasking led to a decline in IQ scoring similar to that of staying up late. What this shows is that focusing on more than one thing can impact overall performance. So to make meaningful progress in your life or in your efforts to achieve something meaningful, the first thing to do is work out where to give your best focus. And to help you do this, rather than asking what is most important, which could lead to some internal conflict, try asking this instead. If everything in your life stayed the same, what is the one area where change would have the greatest impact? And this is a helpful question to ask because it will focus your attention on the one thing that has the potential to make all the difference. The second discipline that will help you achieve more in life is to pay attention to what Covey and Chesney describe as lead measures. Now, when setting goals, we typically focus on the end outcome. They describe these as being lag measures, which are typically an overall measure of success. For example, if your goal was to, say, lose 2 stones by the end of the year, the success outcome would be that on the 31st of December, you're carrying 2 stones less than you were at the time when you set your goal. But lead measures are different. Firstly, because you don't need to wait until your goal deadline to be able to measure whether they're working or not. And second, you have more control over your lead measures in real time. In other words, unlike lag measures, you can influence lead measures on the go, which can enable you to make changes that will help you work towards your goal rather than getting to the deadline only to discover that you failed. For example, the lead measures for a goal of losing, say, 2 stones by the end of the year might include things like 1, not exceeding X number of calories a day, 2, training with a PT twice a week, and 3, running 5 miles, say, 2 days a week. These lead measure examples would inevitably contribute to you hitting your goal, but most importantly, you'd be able to monitor how effective they are along the way and make changes where needed. Put differently, they're all within your control. Another way of looking at it is that with lag measures, you don't have the opportunity to course correct, whereas with lead measures, they provide endless opportunities to check what's working and make adjustments before your target date. You only need to watch some level of competitive sport to see there's something quite powerful about scorekeeping. Just the suggestion of seeing how many reps you can do in a minute or how many words you can write in 20 minutes seems to increase both motivation and focus. Equally, when what you're doing isn't being measured or tracked in some way, the chances are you'll be more likely to get distracted by other things, become less engaged, and maybe allow a level of complacency to set in what you're doing. And this is where the third discipline of keeping a compelling scoreboard comes into its own. And this is because when tracking or visualizing your progress, you're likely to become more selective and make better decisions because you'll know that every single decision will have an impact on your overall result. For example, keeping a record or score of your daily calorie intake will influence the decisions you make when you go out for a meal. Similarly, tracking the miles you run each week will influence if you choose to miss that run you scheduled in your diary. Keeping a visual record which tracks your progress will help you to remain focused and significantly increase your chances of overall success. Okay, before I say more about the fourth and most important discipline that can help you achieve more in life, please do me a favor and let me know if you're finding this video helpful by clicking the like button. Your click lets YouTube know that I'm offering value, so please do me a favor and click the like button now. Thank you very much. Right, the fourth discipline, which has been described as being the most important, is to create a process that provides you with a high level of regular and consistent accountability. And the reason for this is that without being accountable, you could quickly find yourself being pulled in different directions and doing things that suddenly seem more important, especially when things get challenging. But you see, in making yourself accountable, you decrease the risk of losing focus on what matters most, the thing that has the potential to make all the difference. And in doing so, you increase the chances of reaching your goals no matter what is going on around you. For example, depending on your end goal, sharing a weekly calorie count with your PT, how many calls you've made to potential clients with your coach, or how much you've managed to save with your financial advisor could each be really helpful. You see, accountability will help you keep sight of your goal. It will also ensure you're under no illusions about what you need to work on and where you might need to adjust your lead measures in order to keep you on track to achieving your goal. Okay, so there you have it, 4 disciplines to help you make progress towards achieving more in your life. Here's a quick recap. 1, have a wildly important goal. Give your best efforts to the main thing rather than giving mediocre effort on lots of things. 2, be guided by lead measures. Focus on what you can influence and course correct en route to your goal to give you the best chance of success. 3, have a compelling scoreboard. By keeping track of your progress, you'll be much more likely to consider the overall impact of your day-to-day decisions. And 4, make yourself accountable. Being open with yourself and others will help you to keep your goal and the progress you're making front of mind, therefore increasing your chances of achieving them and being successful. Right, we've reached the end and I have a question for you. In what areas of your life could you see yourself benefiting from introducing these 4 disciplines? As you know, I love to hear from you, so please leave your thoughts, questions, or responses in the comments. Also, if you found this video helpful and you'd like to support my channel, please like and share. And don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell icon so you can be notified of all future videos. Thank you so much for watching. Rooting for you. Be well.